Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special iStaging talk today. I'm your host, Stefan, and I'm joined today by the founder and CEO of FiSBO, Ben Keehan. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Stefan. It's really nice and a bit an honour to have you talk to the world about what we're doing with FiSBO. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So I have known you for quite a few years now. I think we met maybe 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, probably.
Yep.
You were a real estate agent at that time.
Yes.
And then you started using iStaging. That's how we got to know each other.
Yep.
And after that, you became an iStaging partner. So you started working with us and representing our business as well, mainly in New Zealand. And now you got your own business, FiSBO. So I'm really excited to talk about all of that with you, real estate and how your business works and how you're different, and a little bit about how that connects to iStaging. But before we do that, a little bit of a couple of household items. So I already see some people mentioning something in the chat, saying hi guys, hi Nick, hi Dean. Let us know if you can hear us and if you can see us okay. And you can mention that in the chat. Feel free to ask any questions or put any comments there as well. So we'll have some time at the end of today's talk for a live Q&A if you want to ask Ben any questions or myself. But feel free to just put your questions in there, and I'll get through them, or we'll get through them at the end. So let's dive right in. Ben, could you start by introducing what FiSBO is and what its mission is?
All right, very good question, actually. Okay, so we're just talking about trying to keep it real simple. So FiSBO, for internet sale by owner, is a democratized platform, or an internet. Currently, it's an end-to-end real estate platform to help people sell their own property without the need of a real estate agent. Okay, and that's essentially what it is. So we're a marketing service designed to help people sell without, with assistance, but without that high commission component.
Right. Okay. Right. Makes sense. So you have had many years of real estate experience, obviously as an agent, and then you also work together with RINES, the Real Estate Institute of New Zealand, and we work together with Trade Me and realestate.co.nz. So lots of experience in the industry. So what kind of challenges or issues did you see over the years that kind of led you to the idea for FiSBO?
Yeah. Well, that's okay. So basically, well, it's actually quite a bit of it's a story. It's a long story, not a long story, medium story. So effectively, I was mucking around with VR. So back in 2015, I got my license as a real estate agent here in New Zealand. So we'll talk about real estate from a New Zealand perspective. And that might be similar to other markets around the world. So we'll just base it on New Zealand experience to start with. VR back in 2015 was still quite an emerging technology, and I saw it and I thought to myself, oh, that's pretty cool. I wonder how I can use that as a tool to make myself look different in the market and give me an edge over my competitors. Okay, so as a real estate salesperson, you're always looking for some sort of way to add value to a very generic business. So, as we know, the business is a business of you're selling a service to sell a product. Okay, so I found VR, saw a Samsung made a camera. I can't remember what the model was. It was one of the first, like a round looking thing, similar, very similar to this. I can't remember what they called it. It was a piece of crap. I had an Android phone at that stage, and it would talk to the Android phone nicely, and you could capture these images, but you couldn't really do anything with them. You couldn't. I think you could upload them to Facebook at that time, and you could sort of see how the image would come together, but you couldn't share it to an internet page or anything. I ended up taking that back, and I stumbled across another platform, and I can't remember their name, and I bought a Ricoh Theta camera, which was the first camera Okay, I had that, and then paired that with using it with their system, and it was good. It did what it needed to do, but again, I couldn't use it. I couldn't embed it anywhere.
Mm.
And then their pricing started to creep up, and it was almost getting the monthly subscription was, it might have been a couple of $100. So at that stage, I thought it was a little bit out of my budget and quite limiting. I then stumbled across iStaging at that stage, and it was at that time probably late 2016 maybe. The pricing was great, and I thought, shit, this is cool. And at that stage, I bought an iPhone because I needed one to use with the Harcourt's system.
Yeah.
And I thought, shit, I can capture these images from my smartphone, from my iPhone, and I can embed some cool stuff into the tour. And that was the start of it. So that's when I got really embedded with iStaging as a user. Okay.
Right. And when it comes to FiSBO, the idea for FiSBO, was it really just the cost? Was it the issue of cost for people that the was so high? Commissions were really high.
Well, if we go back to the journey of where we're going, and when you understand why we started with FiSBO, at that stage, I was working as an agent.
Yeah.
And we were sort of going through a transition of, here's all this really cool tech. Hey, let's get a partnership. Or by chance we formed that partnership with TradeMe and then with Ryan's to help promote that to the agents.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we couldn't get the agents to run with it as fast as we wanted them to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then after that, that's when I started to question, why am I helping agents when they're not really helping me? And then I thought, okay, well, why don't I try and service part of the market that's not being very well catered for? And at that stage in New Zealand, it's the private sale, or the private sale is effectively what FiSBO is. It's a sale where it never hits the open market. Generally, it's when two people transact between each other without an agent with no fee. And then it was, the start of TradeMe and the other portals here in New Zealand who are disrupting the marketing of property. So there wasn't really an intelligent way to market property in a private sale sense. So when I looked at where iStaging comes in, it was more of, if I hadn't been iStaging, FiSBO in New Zealand would never have been born.
Interesting.
Okay, so you're part of that journey, no matter what anyone says. You guys are there along the way, and it's really about looking at the part of the markets which weren't being served very well,
right?
And then it's evolving into what we have now. Which,
the for sale by owner model is something that I think has been around for a while. Maybe not super popular, but it is a concept that I guess is known. So, what does FiSBO basically do differently from that original sort of model, right?
So the unassisted private seller, in some New Zealand context, and obviously it is the same around the world, where a vendor tries to market their house and goes for it. We are bridging the gap, the knowledge gap between what an agent does and what technology can do and what the process is. And I've effectively hybridized it. So it's a mixture of everything an agent does, all of their marketing, all of their open home assistance, all of their signage and the technology and the VR and all of the front end of a campaign. And then at the point of inducement, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. The point of inducement is when a person says, hey, I want to buy this property. How do I go about it? that's where my software, my MVP or my app I had to build to then handle that pre-negotiation step, and that's the key difference. So an unintelligent private seller or FiSBO has got maybe an advertising portal and no smarts, no intelligence in the middle.
Okay.
And that's really what the I, and so FiSBO for internet sale by owner, the I is the internet or the intelligence. That's what the difference is.
Okay. All right. Okay. That I get that. So it is more the second half where you are really making the difference when there's interest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So in New Zealand, the legislation. So this is there's an act, a real estate agents authority, or an act, and I think in the States they might call it, I don't know, whatever they call it over there, similar thing. And it's, you can do marketing and you can sell the property. Okay, so the Agents Act governs what real estate agency work is, and effectively it is anything that brings about a transaction. And the transaction in our case is the sales and purchase agreement. So that might be the contract. So the contract is the sale, the paperwork is the sale.
Mm-hmm.
So we are the workflow I've built deals with the pre-negotiation. So effectively, when a buyer says, "Hey, I want to buy this property, how do I do it?" They log into our platform. They fill out a web form with all their details, which is just like what I do as an agent. Send them a web form, fill out the details.
Yeah.
That information along with the price is sent directly to the owner instantly in real time. Boom, the vendor has it. If I was an agent, I'd go and present the offer. Okay.
Yeah.
So just drawing parallels between the two.
Yeah.
The seller can negotiate with the buyer instantly. They can say, "Hey, look, I don't like your offer. I don't like your conditions. I don't like your price. You need to increase your price."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the buyer can edit their bid, and it goes back to the seller. Whereas an agent model, contract goes to the seller says no, the agent rings up the buyer, the buyer's agent, blah blah blah, and all that pulling and throwing is gone. So effectively, the app or a web app deals with that pre-negotiation.
Okay. All right. So So one of the questions that I had when I was thinking about this is that let's assume that I'm a home owner and I want to sell my home because I'm the seller is your customer, correct?
Correct.
The seller is your customer. The seller pays you essentially your fee. Now I'm a homeowner. I want to sell my property. One of the first things that would come for me, like one of the worries I have is, okay, I have no skill set in this area. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. This sounds maybe interesting, but the first thing is like I need to go get a professional that understands, because I don't want to make these major mistakes that I might not even aware of that would cost me, I don't know, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So this concept of for sale by owners seems really interesting to me because it could save me a lot of money, but me selling it seems kind of challenging, right? Like I would need someone that knows what is going on. Like, do you understand what I'm?
Yeah. So that's the gap. In the if you look at pre 2008, right? So I'll use 2008 for two reasons. One, in New Zealand, it was when the Real Estate Agents Act was rewritten. Okay. Right. And number two, in 2008, I had just sold a franchise and I started working for Vodafone. All right. So I went from a carpet company who was, we were doing some really cool shit and carpet and measuring and laser measuring and stuff. Yeah. Then I went at Vodafone. When I went at Vodafone, it was when the smartphones were first coming out. Okay, so the birth of the internet really didn't take off until 2008. And what it meant was you, a private sale, an unintelligent person who didn't know the process of of how to sell a property could list a house online, and you don't really need an agent, okay? Because in the old way, the agent was the person who was the database, the person they had access to all the buyers, because they, a buyer, they would be they'd be the internet. The agent was the internet, okay?
Yeah.
From that perspective,
Yeah.
the internet comes along and says, right, eBay or whatever, hey, you've got a house for sale, you can list it on, advertise it on this big cool website, and all the buyers can go straight to the website and bypass the agents.
Right.
And the agents went, holy shit, we've just been disrupted.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So that's when, so that happened. And now the second thing from that, getting back to today, the same thing is that people are attracted to the property first.
Yes.
People are attracted to the property. I want to view the property. The agent isn't really the thing. I'm not attracted to the agent.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to the property first. All right.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So where we come in is we say to the seller, and this is, again, it's always the trouble trying to educate people, just like, we were trying to educate agents on the benefit of iStaging.
Yeah.
We're trying to educate sellers on the benefit of FiSBO. And it's to have that assisted private sale. So we're not cheap, right? We're not the cheapest person out there, the cheapest brand out there. And we're certainly not the dearest. So we're trying to fill that void, that gap in the middle between the high commission guy, who's selling on commission, and the free purple bricks or the free platforms who are able to sell your house for free.
Yeah.
You can't make money out of that, right?
Right.
Okay. So that intelligent person. So a client would say, hey, look, FiSBO, obviously we want them to ring us and say, hey, look, I want to FiSBO my property.
Yeah.
How do we go about it? And we go and do a consult and talk them through the process. Okay. I think there's part of what you've said is important, because we're probably I have a bit of trouble conveying that we are there to assist them.
Yes.
It's not just the open homes. It's not just the marketing. We are there to help them with the process.
Yes.
And the legislation allows for that. Okay, so
I think in your case, like the reason I'm asking this question is because I would get all of that, and it would make me feel very comfortable if I actually talk to you directly and you explain this to me, right? But before I can talk to you, I first need to know about you and then reach out, right? So you somehow need to convey to me first that I don't have to be worried about those things, because you can help me with that, right? But my first instinct would be, for sale by owner, that seems like a whole lot of work. I'm not so sure, I think, even though you say you can save me a lot of cost, what if I screw up, right? But that's obviously what you're fixing, like what I don't have to worry about that. But that is sort of probably one of the challenges in the beginning, to get people, interested in this.
Yeah. So the same thing is it's the agent since the birth of the internet, and then you've got all these sites that do estimates. And so in America they do, is it Zestimate? I think they call it Zestimate. So Zillow has a platform, and Zillow will say, we think the house is worth this based on the comps and stuff. So in New Zealand we have the same thing, and I know they have the same thing in Australia, and they'll have it pretty much everywhere around the world. So the danger of those platforms to the seller is they influence the value of the property, and again, most sellers will know what they want for their property. Okay, so then they're questioning, do I really, the smart people? So this is and I shouldn't say smart versus dumb, and I'll probably take that back. It's probably the aware people who are studying the market.
Sure.
Are going, okay, I'm thinking about selling.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell right now today. And that journey might start, they might be thinking about selling for 6 months before they actually can go on the market. So they're doing their due diligence on the market.
Yeah.
They're looking at the estimates. They're trying to work out what's sold around the corner. And then in our time, and the same with an agent, this is where FiSBO and an agent is very similar, because we're trying to say the same story. Hey, look, Mr. Seller, I'm Ben from FiSBO, I'm Ben from Harcourts. We've got a really great service and we can do all this great work. Please pick me to sell your house.
Right.
So I think the rule of real estate is the same no matter what. The difference, the real difference, is the people that are aware of what they're getting for the money they spend.
Yeah.
And it's like, when we were trying to educate the agents, it's hard work because you're trying to change people's behaviours.
That's one of the hardest things to do, to get people to change their behavior. Yeah.
Totally. And with real estate as well, it's also it's a bit snobby. Like $1 million listing in this America makes real estate look really, really glamorous. It's champagne, it's $50,000 parties, and it's swanky, and then when it comes to negotiating, it's, oh no, you have to drop the price, Mr. Seller. I've got a buyer and he's offered you $3.5 million and you want $4 million, so you've got to drop your pants by $500,000, right? And I'm still going to charge you 4% commission. And I'm made of whatever. It's just bullshit. It's just utter shit. But people think that's real, and it's what it is. So the reality is that it's a game of chess speeders. But FiSBO, we're not chess speeders. We just like to go and do our job.
So can you? I think on your social media, I recently saw that you celebrated the 44th sale of a property with FiSBO, which is awesome. Could you, from those, let's say, 44 different stories that you have, is there one that kind of stands out, like from either a seller's perspective or a buyer's perspective, something, or maybe someone that was hesitant and then went, you know what, this was fantastic, like I'm going to do this again? Or is there any or maybe something different that
probably the two. There's it's trying to think. The most memorable one was the first one.
The first one. Okay. Yeah.
And the reason for that is that Noel and Faye, who are my first client, they're really nice people. Old people.
I find really interesting. If you say that they're old, that they went with this new kind of idea, this technology. That's really interesting to me, and especially if they were first.
Well, so they were a builder. So they were building a spec home in Napier here. So, in a value of at that stage, it was just before COVID. So the sale price on that property is $1.25 million. And at that stage, that was an expensive house, and probably now that house is worth $2 million, right? Brand new build, amazing detail. The house was just a really cool house, extremely well built. Noel, how old was he then? He was probably about 78 then. Okay, been married. Not a big guy, short guy, but in his own self, he was an innovator. So he was always doing things throughout his life that were quite innovative. And he gave me a shot. And it was the first one. I just built the platform, so it was only 6 months after the software was built. We got into lockdown. The day we effectively tried to go live was the day of lockdown. And no one, so we had the VR there, and the house still wasn't finished, so we used iStaging in the VR, and it got views, and it was great, and we had, when we came out of lockdown and we could get people back to the property again, we showed the property and people looked at the VR. If they couldn't get to the house, they'd look at the VR, or if they'd come to the house and then look at the VR to go back to the house anytime they like. So that's always going to be the best one for me.
Yes.
We had stuff that, and after that We're getting multiple offers, selling very, very quickly. Actually, well, I was away. I was in Auckland for a weekend, and one of my customers rings up, Ben, I've got this offer. I was like, oh, great. And I could see it. I could see what the offer was in the back end of the app. Oh, yeah, here it is. And then she said, I've got another one. And then all of a sudden she's gone, oh my God. And it went up, and I think she gained about $85,000 in about 10 minutes.
Wow.
Just because you were two people trying to outbid each other in the app.
Yeah. Amazing.
So that's the thing. So in FiSBO, when the first bid is made, and the app will send a text message to everyone who's been to the property, and it'll say a bid's been made, and it'll show the dollar value of the bid in the listing.
Oh, right? Wow.
So when you've got a multi-offer situation, everyone can see the values, but they can't see conditions. So you could have one person who's cash and one person who's financed fighting it out against each other.
Yeah.
And the vendor will pick one.
Cool.
And it's all happening in real time.
Yeah.
So that was really the second power of FiSBO. The first is the brand and the system.
Yeah.
But when it all comes together in a multi-offer, it behaves far better than an agent does.
Yes. Right. Interesting.
And,
really
and
cool.
the vendor picks the winner. Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about sort of virtual tours, and how you've implemented that, within FiSBO, and how you do all of that. Recently, I've gotten a bit interested in, like, when do people actually use the virtual tour? Like, in what stage of the process, essentially. But how have, or maybe it hasn't, but that would be the question. How have virtual tours impacted the way that you generally engage with, potential buyers? Has it changed in a way? Like, are they simpler?
Yeah. So when you and I started talking to Rhines and doing all that work and trying to get the tours embedded into the listing portals in New Zealand and Australia, which we still achieved. One of the things I did with FiSBO was use it as the default viewing method, so that in the websites, for the listing, the VR tour is featured first over stills. Okay, so for some campaigns we don't do a VR, and that might be because it's a rental, or it's because VR shows the detail.
Yes.
And it shows it extremely well. Okay.
Yes.
So first and foremost, if you go to FiSBO now and go to our featured listing, there will be a VR tour first on all the featured listings. I found a bit of a problem with the way the websites. We were using Webflow. We couldn't. It wouldn't handle multiple VR tours loading at the same time. So when we hit our homepage, I had them all stacked up on top of each other. We had to go back to having one VR tour per page, because just the way that they were loading, and there was a problem. It must have just been an internet problem. Anyway, we bypassed that and fixed it. So firstly,
interesting how you, because I don't think even though that seems like a really logical thing to do, to make that the default viewing option, that's not really what I generally see on most websites. Even if they do have virtual tours, there are other visuals that usually come first before the virtual tour is somewhere, right? Either it's further down the page, and you might go, well, it's still there, yes, but considering people's attention span, and just scrolling or one additional click decreases views and time on the page significantly. So I think that's already a really, really big difference.
So with the portals here in New Zealand, Rhines and TradeMe, with FiSBO, we're only on TradeMe, unfortunately, but that's what it is. The images load first, and then there's a button click to the 3D tour. Okay.
Yes.
And firstly, the reason for that is from a tech perspective, it's much easier for the page to load the images because they don't change. Because the virtual tour, by its nature, is it auto rotates. And I think
I get it.
if we could turn that off, maybe that might help the page load. Maybe if the auto rotate was off, it might.
Yes.
And actually, we probably need to talk about that on a side note. Actually,
we can actually do that. You should be able to. You can turn off the rotation. It's doable.
So let's have a test on that when we'll talk about that later. So where are we going? Okay, so viewing VRs by default, because what we're trying to do is FiSBO is a filter. Okay.
Yeah.
It's FiSBO as a filter. So we're trying to find, because we're not, and this is another thing we're a little bit different, because just the way the Act works, we're trying to use technology to replace the need for people. So when you're an agent, you're always on the phone handing buyers, what's your situation? Have you got a house to sell? Lead. So we're trying not to do that, right? And try to do it with tech. But in saying, I suppose, on where we are with VRs, is we want a person to come to an open home, okay? We don't know if someone's going to come to an open home. We just don't know because it's going to rock up. But that's the chance you take.
Yeah.
If they like the property, they'll come to the open home. Yeah. They might have seen the virtual tour. Okay, we don't know that. And we can turn on the tracking on the tour, which we can talk about, which is a really good tool. We might do that. Now, for those of you who don't know, when you turn on the tracking in the tour, the customer or the viewer has to put their name and email and phone number as well.
Yeah, I believe so. I think the phone number is, optional, but yeah.
Yeah. So put the details in to log in to get access, and the system will track the interaction with the tour. And that's really quite powerful because you can see how often they're going back, and then you can reach out to them and say, "Hey, look, I've seen you. You want to come and have a look at the property in the flesh." So, but let's assume someone who comes to an open home has seen the virtual tour. Let's assume that. If they haven't seen the virtual tour, they'll then leave the open home, then go back to the virtual tour and look at the house again. Okay.
Right.
Because it can only be one.
Just to clarify, because you say sometimes when people come to an open home, in some cases they've seen the virtual tour, in other cases they haven't. In what scenario do people come to an open home where they haven't seen the virtual tour? Because
let's say they've seen the house on Trade Me or Marketplace, and then they come to the open home because it's advertised, and they just haven't bothered to click on the virtual tour.
Okay, all right.
We're just making an assumption. We don't know if they have. We don't know. We actually don't know.
Right.
Could we track that? We might be able to track that actually. Anyway, so we're just making an assumption. So if they come to the open home, they like the house, they look at the virtual tour, and they say, "Yeah, I can see myself living here." Because the virtual tour is a really, really good way of showing the facts and how they can interact with the house.
Yes.
Whereas you can't do that with stills.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so what we're trying to do with stills is we just try and use stills to capture the emotion of a house. Okay? A view or a plant or some sort of a warm fuzzy thing.
Correct. It's emotion. Yeah.
Something emotional, an emotional attachment, or some sort of, and some stills, like you can get some really, really good stills in really nice homes. In average homes, it's really hard because it might just be a boring house.
Yes. Yeah.
It might be a transactional house, but something that's got really cool lighting and nice feature wall and stuff like that. Stills are awesome. And then stills and VR are the best of the best, because you can shoot that emotional thing. They can come back and look at the house. Yes, they're excited and they got that emotional connection, and then they go, how do I buy it?
Yeah.
So we're filtering, like an agent, we're using technology to filter the buyers into that realm of trying to make an offer, or can they see themselves living here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, I have I can ask you 30 more questions, but I don't want to take up too much of people's time. But there's one thing that you mentioned that I think is really interesting, where you said that you're trying, like, where the the agent is continuously communicating over the phone with back and forth, and you're kind of trying to remove that using tech. Now, in my opinion, I don't know if this is controversial or not, is technology, especially in our business, should be used not to remove social connection or social interaction, but to basically improve that, or encourage sort of that connection. That's what I want, right? Yes, I want to make it easier for people, but at the same time, I want to talk to someone. Like, I want to connect with someone, right? Like, that's the feeling that I actually have. Like, I don't always want to remove the social interaction of, even though as a society, as the world, we've gotten really excellent at that, basically removing any social interaction from anything. And that's not necessarily a good thing. And I think maybe people think that's a good thing.
It's not. You're right. It's a double-edged sword, because on one side we want to talk to people to make the connection, to have a personal thing, and be social like you and I can do.
Yes.
And video's awesome for that, and because there's a purpose for it.
Yes.
It's about the unsolicited calls.
Right.
And it's the trust thing. So if you're a buyer, this is the way I see real estate. So you can't sell a house to a person if they don't want to buy it, right? And that's where the line for us we've got to draw something on a parallel. So, okay, you're interested in the house, you'll buy it, and this is how you go ahead about buying it. If you don't want to buy the house, you're not going to buy the house. And do you really want to be bothered by a person? Because I'm doing, I play golf and I've got lots of other crap to do. But if the buyer wants to solicit us, not a problem. You can ring us and talk to us. Not a problem at all. And I think we don't want to be. FiSBO doesn't want to be, because we're trying to change not just one part of the real estate business, but the whole model. And if you look at our whole mission, we don't want to be tarred with the same brush as real estate agents, because real estate agents are like used car salesmen. They're sort of like, unfortunately, they're necessary, and for a lot of people, they're a necessary evil. But do I really want to use it? Do I really want to talk to an agent? Can I trust the agent? And this is the other thing, is the trust part. Like, there are so many agents who do bad stuff because of the commission, structure. So anyway, so we're just trying to change that whole thing. Yes, we want to talk to them. We want people to ring us if they've got a need to ring us to talk to us about a system problem, or they can't log in to buy the house or something like that. And we're trying to make it far more intelligent and far more, just more real.
Yes.
And no bullshit, because people are over bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. So you're obviously sort of, you're disrupting. You're trying to disrupt the.
Well, you're trying to disrupt this. So if you look at the commission, so in New Zealand, we're a small country, but the commission, the real estate commission business is worth about $2 billion a year.
Yes.
In total commission is made. Okay, and that's a lot of money, right? So we want a 10% market share. That's my 5-year goal. I don't know if I can achieve that. We're going to try it.
Yeah.
We're trying to give consumers the choice of a prepay for the services or pay on sale. So we're not the cheapest. So we're not, we don't actually advertise a DIY anymore because most of our campaigns are serviced.
Okay.
So 30 days is $5,000, and then $1,500 for month 2 and $1,250 for month 3 to get service.
Yeah.
Or $7,500 for an assisted campaign.
Okay.
And that's good. So the people doing the work with us will be paid for the work that they do, rather than working for a big commission and doing shitty things to make money, because the average person, the average agent, excuse me, would only sell. I think in New Zealand they only make about $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no guarantee that they're going to do that. So we're trying to change that whole model of payment and paying for services and trying to be a one-stop service. So the person who is doing the open homes is creating the photos and the virtual tours.
Yeah.
Okay.
So say that again. The person that is doing the open home is actually creating the virtual tour.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And
so there's one person.
The person that is creating the open home is.
So the consultant. So Ben is an open homer. I'm an open homer. Okay. I'm a marketing consultant, and I do the open homes, and I do everything for the customer. So when I was an agent, the same thing. So I would do everything for the customer.
Yeah.
No, I really used an outside photographer, pretty rarely, but I did my own drones, did my own VR, did my own stills.
Yeah.
Provided everything. So FiSBO is the same. We're a complete. You're only going to deal with one person.
Yeah.
And that one person will do everything for you to the same standard all the way through.
Right. All right. Cool. So maybe one or two more questions before I want to see if there's anyone that has any questions. Sure. Did you want to say something?
Oh no, I was just going to say about before you said you asked about capturing. I don't know if anyone's interested. If you're using iPhone 13 Pro Max, the SmallRig. Have you ever heard of SmallRig, Stefan?
No, I haven't.
SmallRig. Okay, so they're I picked they're out of Taiwan or China. They're a manufacturer of cages for phones.
Okay.
So when I do my capturing, this is one of the things I found. It took me a while to find it. Is I slide my iPhone into the cage.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to muck around with the clip anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, but that's a really good tip for people as well.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely something that is always is still a bit challenging, right? Especially now with phones with different cameras, and it's all I happen to have an older phone with just one, and I can easily clip it on. I don't have an issue, but that with all the newer phones, that's not really the case, and it's always like trying to find the sweet spot. So this is really helpful. This is
so SmallRig, and they brought out I think they've got a version for the Androids now as well.
Yeah,
and that's just a side if you want to know about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, look at maybe two more questions. 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, how do you see the role of technology in general, but maybe also virtual tours, sort of evolving over the next 5 to 10 years? In the industry, where do you think it's going to go?
Where do you think it hope? This is what I want. If it's not me doing it, it'll be someone else with a big budget doing it. That question has a question for you. How many virtual tours has iStaging got in its in storage globally?
That's a great question. I don't know, but there are a lot.
Hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands,
maybe even in the millions. I don't know.
Could those tours be categorized into by property type? Is that possible or
not? I would say, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I guess that would be difficult. But now with AI, I think that's doable. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I reckon the future of VR, for what you have created so far, and the future of real estate will be that a person like myself would go to the house. They would create the virtual tour, maybe on pre-list and then post-list. Okay, a pre-list tour. Those images will be analysed by AI, maybe on like on a 5G network on the edge of a network somewhere, and the AI will give the vendor a price, a value for the house based on that scan. Okay.
Yeah.
So and the reason is we need to leverage AI for its ability to access big data instantly, whereas humans, we can access it, but it's still slow. Maybe we can do it. I can probably do it in about half an hour if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
40 minutes, scan a whole lot of, maybe 2 hours. Okay, 2 hours tops for a better report. So scan the house, punch in what the house or the address is. The bot will go back and go, last 10 sales, this price, this value, we think this house is worth this, and that'll be the price. So that'll be how market prices will be set. Okay, that's where I think we're going. And then from a consumer sell point of view, in countries that allow it, and I take it as fairly similar global, is that the expensive real estate agent will become a thing of the past, and people will pay people for services, which is what we're trying to do. And it's no disrespect to the agents. It's just that consumers, because of inflationary pressures,
yes,
and money is tight. Like the money's tight here in New Zealand now. Consumers going, 20 hours of work to market and be available to sell a house. Is that still worth $50,000?
Yeah.
Or is FiSBO now, the way to go?
Yeah, I mean, it just it would just require them to adapt essentially.
Just adapt. And I think if you look at technology, so what are we now? We're 2014. We met each other 2016. So what's that? 8 years ago, roughly.
Yeah.
And the technology's been around a 10-year chunk. So what you and I have been doing for the last 8 years was considered leading edge and high tech.
Yeah.
Today, it's part of the parcel. So what I've been doing for the last 4, in 10 years' time, will be just a norm.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, what is next for FiSBO in the short, let's say, in the next 12 months?
The next 12 months is just to keep doing what we're doing, keep building a war chest of cash and getting sales, and just keep the grind going. It's for everybody who's in business today. We just need to keep telling the story, keep doing the work, serving the customers, because the customers are the ones we're working for, and helping them to achieve their goals.
Yeah.
And then we've got some challenges at the moment that we're working through, and that once that's sorted and it's cash, it is still a cash issue. We can bring on a team, build a team out. So the next 12 months, it's an insurance thing. Just insurance is going up and a cash cost. So being a bootstrap small business trying to change the world, we need cash and sales, which we all do.
Yeah.
Once we achieve that, we can build a team, and then we'll start building our Uber drivers out.
Awesome.
So we'll effectively, we want people around in New Zealand to do what I've been doing here, and to offer to again keep building the story and keep getting scale. I think this is the thing where one of your questions, I don't know if you've asked it yet. Did you ask it before? Ask it about about FiSBO has been around for a long time. Did you ask that one already?
I'm not sure. I may have.
You're going to ask about why hasn't FiSBO worked before, and I think the reason why that hadn't really worked is about people. because real estate's still a people business.
Yes.
It's a SaaS business because we were talking about SaaS offline.
Yeah.
It's a SaaS business, but it's software with a service. The service you need the people to provide the services to make it work.
Yeah.
It's not just here's a website and a system. I don't think it's going to be that. It's still going to be people helping people.
I agree. This business is people. Like whatever you say, it's people. So makes sense. Ben, I could talk to you for another hour easily. I don't even think that I've asked half of the questions that I wanted to actually ask you, but I don't want to take up too much time of our audience. We've been talking for close to an hour, and who knows, maybe we can at some point in the future do this again and expand on what we talked about today.
It would be quite cool to do that again and talk about some other stuff.
Absolutely. And just to see what the updates are with the business and how things are going, because we can go into a lot more detail. But I think this was a great sort of intro for about your business. I don't know if there are any questions from the audience. I think some people. Let's see. This is the question. So. Well, you can always, So where can people find you? Like if they want to get in touch with you,
just where do on LinkedIn. So everybody's on. I am on LinkedIn. No issue there. That's where you just want to reach out and have a chat, or go to fisbo.co.nz. Reach out to me that way. Happy to talk about stuff. Real estate and technology. Pretty boring, really. It's not that exciting.
No, I think it's not boring at all. I think it's interesting to talk about this. To talk about this stuff. So I always try to keep things somewhat simple. Just like the simpler, the easier, or the better it is. So this was great. I think the information was awesome. I really liked it. I always enjoy talking to you, Ben. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're really, really busy. Hopefully we get to do it again sometime in the near future, and we can get into a little bit more detail and a little bit more about tech and technology and stuff like that. Thanks a lot. And to everyone that joined us today, thank you so much for your time. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got some new information. It was a little bit of a different webinar than what you're used to, obviously. And we're going to hope to continue this in the next few months with different people, different industries, and see how virtual tours in our business kind of fits into that and how it helps. So thanks a lot, and we hope to see you guys in the next one. Cheers.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much. Cheers, Stefan. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.